This essay plan will be adaptable to any Macbeth question that comes up. So if you watch this full thing, you'll be able to use it, adapt it, and put it in your exam, which of course is going to boost your grade. So before we go into the essay plan, I want to go into the overall message. Like, what is the message in Macbeth? Because that will help us with our essay plan. So Shakespeare presents Macbeth as a study in hubris. Hubris is this excessive pride that leads to a downfall. Basically, he's got a big ego. And it's catastrophic consequences. So like catastrophic is not good. The play traces the disintegration of a man who sacrifices his conscience is knowing right from wrong, his relationships, and ultimately his sanity in pursuit of illegitimate power. When we say illegitimate power, it means he is not legit. Like, he should not be the king, he's illegitimate. Shakespeare's central warning is unambiguous. So it's very, very clear. He's not trying to kind of be subtle with this, he's making it clear to the audience. Ambition without morality does not elevate a person, doesn't lift them up, but corrodes. It eats away at them from the inside out. We see that personified through Macbeth, through Lady Macbeth. We see these other characters who embark on this unchecked, so uncontrollable ambition. But then our first paragraph would be on something like guilt. We could see if we can link it to guilt or psychological impact, because everything basically linked back to that. So as an overall, is how we can kind of summarize that, is Shakespeare presents guilt as an inescapable psychological force that externalizes, so brings to the surface, inner corruption. So basically, think on the outside, if you're feeling guilty inside, we get to see it in the way that the characters are. Manifesting, so appearing, as hallucination, insomnia, inability to sleep, and paranoia, is irrational fear and suspicion. And we see that personified, so when I say personified, like if this was going to be a person, we see that through Macbeth and Lady Macbeth, in the way that they're acting, in the way that they're very irrational, because they're completely consumed with this guilt. So some quotes that we could use in this paragraph, from Macbeth, we could use, "Is this a dagger which I see before me?" We can see that guilt ruptures his grip on reality before the crime even takes place. Now, most students get this wrong. This hallucination is before he has committed regicide. Regicide is killing of the king, exposing the fragility, the weakness of his psyche, of his mind. So we can really see that this is when he's beginning to mentally disintegrate before he's even committed the murder. So he's absolutely screwed. He's absolutely screwed. He's hallucinating before he's even done it. Then Lady Macbeth, we got out damn spot. We see the suppressed guilt resurfaces beyond her conscious control during sleep. So obviously sleep is you're in that in-between state. You're not actually awake, but of course you're in that in-between, that liminal state was called in-between. So we can see it's buried in her subconscious. So not when she's thinking with her mind, but kind of buried deep, deep within her brain. And we can see that guilt, and that guilt is coming out when she sleeps. And then we also got, oh, full of scorpions is my mind, dear wife. So the psyche, the mind, becomes a site of self-inflicted torment. So it's like this is a battleground for his mind. Kingship, which just means being king, provides no refuge, no escape. Power and suffering are inseparable. So despite him acquiring his illegitimate throne, when I say illegitimate, it's not legit, because obviously he wasn't meant to be king, he thinks when he acquires his power, all of his problems will disappear, when in actual fact they can't be separated out. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at some grade 9 analysis that you could actually put in your exam for this quote. So full of scorpions, like how could we write this in the exam? We always want to have our topic sentence or our point, or however you call this. Shakespeare constructs guilt as an internalized form of retribution. So what this means is that within him, it's his own punishment. He doesn't even need to be punished by the outside world. He is constantly facing this punishment. And obviously, if it's within him, it's inescapable. You can't escape a punishment that is within you. Presenting it as a psychological force that externalizes Macbeth's corruption long before any consequences arrive. So we can see again, it's that externalization of his corruption. It's outwardly projecting because he's facing that within him. And what I'm going to do is directly on the Lightup Hub, we've got the what, how, why framework on how we can analyse this quote on the last minute revision section, which does everything from Macbeth in literally 90 minutes. You can go through every single context, key theme, Macbeth, each of the characters with grade 9 analysis, quizzes, grade 9 essays. We've even got some predictions on there with essays and essay plans, but let's go through some of Macbeth. So we always want to do our analysis. Let me cover my face actually, because then you can't see to me. We always want to do analysis in the what, how, why framework. So what is the effect of the technique? How does it show it, and why? This will make sure that you are always being critical in your analysis. And I want to just go through this analysis here that we can see for this quote. So I always like to give 2 techniques for each quote because I like to layer that within my paragraph using the Petar-Tarkor paragraph structure, which I go on the Lightup Hub, I go on this channel. It is the structure to use. But what we want to do It's a really nice way we can think about this is the setting of the castle that he would have been saying this in. And this is a great technique that we can just not use for this quote, we can use for literally any quote really about Macbeth. As long as he says it in the castle, then we can use it. So what we can actually see that obviously this is about his guilt, his psychological downfall, but it also intensifies his psychological entrapment despite his political power. So we can actually see that, of course, his guilt is externalized. Remember what I said, what's within him is shown outside of him. The castle reinforces that because he is bound to a single location. Think like he is physically trapped in the castle, just like how he's physically trapped in his mind. So then this is my how, like how does it actually show that? Illustrating the castle as a claustrophobic setting that mirrors his poisoned, paranoid mind. So we can literally see that Shakespeare has constructed the setting to externalize and mirror this guilt within that's completely manifesting and completely taking over him. Then my reason why. Most students never do this. They never give me their reason behind why they've said that. As this transforms kingship, being king, into imprisonment. So think he's trapped physically in the setting, in the castle, and also mentally. It shows his illegitimate power is a self-made mental and physical cage. Such a nice idea. Think about this idea that he has acquired this illegitimate power. He's not meant to be king. He's not a legit king. And this has created this mental and physical cage that he can't escape. Second paragraph can look at ambition, want, desire. So again, this can link to anything about the want for something, the want for kingship, etc. So Shakespeare presents ambition as a corrosive force that masquerades itself as motivation. The more characters pursue power, the more they relinquish, to give up, of themselves until ambition becomes indistinguishable. You can't tell the difference from self-destruction. So we can see this pursuit of ambition, it seems motivational. It seems like they want to do bigger and better things, but actually becomes the very center point of their own destruction. So for Macbeth, we could use a quote like, I have no spur to prick the sides of my intent, but only vaulting ambition. So of course we can see again that he's cognitively aware, he consciously knows his ambition is unjustified, yet he cannot suppress it. We can therefore call it as unchecked ambition. Unchecked means uncontrollable ambition. And I go through this loads on the Lightup Hub on last minute revision section or the other ones. And it's a really nice idea that you can use across any essay, which of course is always our goal because we want to be able to use this in more than one essay so we can learn a little and apply it to a lot. So this is the idea that he is aware that it's unchecked, yet it shows it's almost like this human-like force that he can't control. Then we have Lady Macbeth, unsex me here, fill me from the crown to the toe, top full of direst cruelty. So she is actively invoking, so calling upon, the supernatural to eradicate, completely destroy, her conscience in pursuit of power. When I say conscience, that means knowing right from wrong. So she is not a very typical lady. She's like, don't make me feel any sense of morality. I want to feel nothing. I don't want to feel anything to do with good or bad. Just make me completely evil. Or a nice word to call that is malevolent, means evil. So we can see that she's very atypical, meaning she's not typical, because she wants to be filled with all of this. And then Banquo. I fear thou played most foully for it. We could also choose one of these quotes for ambition, and the fact that he's a contrast to Macbeth's ambition. He faces identical temptation, yet exercises moral agency. So he actively chooses right over wrong, making Macbeth's choice a deliberate one. And this is a really good argument, again, for the analysis when you talk about Banquo, about the idea of fate versus free will. And the idea, was Macbeth subject to this downfall because of the witches, or was it his own choice? And the character of Banquo allows us to see it was his own choice, because Banquo too is presented with supernatural prophecies and things the witches give him, but he doesn't give in to temptation. And the last one could be about violence, anger, or rage. So we could say that Shakespeare presents violence as a self-perpetuating force, so it continuously feeds itself. What begins as a calculated act of regicide, that says, let me just move myself down here, regicide, killing of the king, metasizes, so spreads uncontrollably into compulsion, an urge that can't be resisted, putting Macbeth into a cycle he can no longer break. So again, we can see that it's continual, it's relentless, it's inescapable. And that's the kind of idea we can talk about when it comes to violence. And then we can use, obviously, quotes. And again, using the what, how, why framework, you can, of course, write that up yourself. You want to make sure it's concise with the what, how, why framework. You can use things like the Lightup Hub, you can talk to your teachers, but make sure your analysis of all of these quotes is in what, how, why, and you can test yourself on it. I'm in blood stepped in so far that returning were as tedious as goer. So violence has become his natural state. Stopping feels as impossible as continuing. That's what he's saying. He's saying, like, I'm so far into this now. There is no point in me returning because I've already done too much. I'm too far gone. He is trapped in irreversible, something can't be undone, moral collapse. It's really important. It's irreversible. He can't change that. Lady Macbeth, out damn spot, a classic quote. The violence she's rationalised, so justifies herself, resurfaces as psychological torment, this mental suffering, as she can no longer suppress it. So we can see that manifestation, again, that externalization of her guilt, again, links to guilt. You can see how all the key themes kind of link together, but this is as a result of her want for violence. That's how we can link it to violence. And then we got Malcolm, this dead butcher and his been like queen. So the reimposition, so the restoration of moral order requires the explicit naming, so like obvious naming, and condemnation of violence. If you condemn something, it is you're against it. And we can see really Malcolm, so remember Malcolm is King Duncan's son. King Duncan's the guy who got killed by Macbeth at the beginning, so Malcolm is meant to be the king. So we can actually see here that he is condemning of violence, and again that is a contrast to the violent nature of Macbeth and Lady Macbeth. So what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to make sure that we have this essay plan and we can kind of use the topic sentences. You're going to pick like a quote that you would use and then put it in the what, how, why framework. And I promise you that will boost your exam so much. And again, if you wanted this all done for you, you know, it's already on the Lightup Hub. You can cover the whole of Macbeth in 90 minutes. You've got grade 9 essays, predictions, essay plans, the whole works. It's on there. Or you can just do it yourself. Up to you. But this should cover everything. Make sure as well, guys, to subscribe to the channel because it means that we can help more people with these videos.